Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping in to demystify three of the most crucial and, let's be honest, often confused roles in the entire world of data. We're talking about the data engineer, the data scientist, and the data architect. Let's get right into it.
So you've seen these job titles pop up everywhere, right? But what do these people actually do all day? The lines can seem super blurry, but I promise, by the end of this, you're going to have a crystal clear picture of who does what, and you might even discover which one of these roles is the perfect fit for you.
Okay, first things first, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. The absolute key here is to stop thinking of these as just separate jobs. Instead, I want you to see them as a collaborative team, a data dream team, really, all working together on a shared mission to turn raw, messy data into something truly valuable. And that mission, that journey, it pretty much always has three fundamental steps. You see, first you need a blueprint, right? A smart strategy for what you're even doing with the data. Then you need someone to actually build the thing, the infrastructure, the pipes, the warehouses. And finally, once it's all built, you need someone to go exploring inside and find those game-changing breakthroughs. And this right here is the perfect way to think about it. It's like building a house. The data architect is the master planner, designing that blueprint. The data engineer is the master builder, the one pouring the foundation and putting up the walls. And the data scientist? Well, they're the brilliant explorer who moves in and discovers all the hidden potential within that structure. Keep that image in your head. All right, so with that big picture framework locked in, let's zoom in on our three key players. We're going to put them head to head and really break down what each of them does, what their main goals are, and the kind of impact they have on a business. This table really cuts right to the chase. You've got the architect, who's always thinking long-term, about scalability, about security, about the big picture. Then you have the engineer, whose goal is much more immediate and hands-on. Just make the data usable, right now. And finally, the scientist takes that beautiful, usable data and finds the story, the insights and predictions that actually drive the business forward. So let's dig into the data architect. This is your strategist. They are asking the million-dollar questions. What technologies are we going to use? How do we build this thing so it doesn't break a year from now? They create the master plan for the entire data universe of a company, always focused on performance, security, and growth. Now, the data engineer, they take that beautiful blueprint and they make it real. They're the builders, getting their hands dirty with tools like Spark and Kafka, and of course, a whole lot of SQL. They're literally constructing the pipelines that pull data from all over the place, clean it up, and move it where it needs to go. Honestly, without them, all you've got is a plan and a giant pile of useless data. And that's when the data scientist gets to shine. Once the engineer has delivered that clean, organized data, the scientist steps in. Think of them as part investigator, part innovator. They're the ones using statistics and machine learning to sift through everything, find those hidden patterns, and build models that can actually predict what's going to happen next. You know, this skill chart tells such a cool story. Look at the overlaps. Everyone needs to be pretty good at SQL and Python. That's kind of the common language. But then check out the specializations. The engineer is an absolute five-star wizard with ETL pipelines. The scientist completely owns machine learning. And the architect, they're the five-star grandmaster of architecture design. They share a foundation, but they are masters of totally different domains. Okay, so theory is great, but let's talk about what really matters. How does this all work in the real world? Let's get into the projects they work on, the money they make, and the career paths they can follow. This is where it all comes together. So let's imagine a classic high-stakes data problem. A bank needs to spot fraudulent transactions, and they need to do it in real time. This is the perfect job for our data dream team. You're going to need all three of them to pull this off. And here's exactly how it plays out. First, the architect designs the whole system from a high level, choosing tools like Kafka for streaming data and Spark for processing it fast. Then, they hand the baton to the engineer, who builds the actual pipelines to suck in all that transaction data as it's happening. Next up, the scientist uses that flowing data to train a slick machine learning model that can spot a fishy pattern. And finally, an ML engineer helps get that model into the real world. It's like a perfect relay race. And now for the question that's probably been on your mind, how's the pay? Well, as you can see, all three of these roles are compensated very, very well. Data architects often pull in the highest salaries, and that's usually because their strategic decisions have such a massive impact, and that kind of judgment takes years of experience. But the bottom line is all three of these are fantastic career paths with huge earning potential. And here's maybe the best part. None of these roles is a dead end. Not even close. Whether you start out as an engineer, a scientist, or an architect, you can absolutely grow into senior leadership positions. All of these paths can eventually lead you to a huge strategic role like Chief Data Officer, where you're setting the data vision for the entire company. So, now that we've seen what they do, how they work together, and where their careers can go, it all really comes down to one big question. Which one of these paths is calling out to you? Let's just boil it all down. At its very core, if you get a thrill out of building things, making robust, efficient systems that just work, you're probably a data engineer at heart. But if you're driven by the thrill of the hunt, of solving complex puzzles and answering impossible questions with data, you just might be a natural data scientist. And honestly, this is the most important thing I want you to walk away with. There is no best role here. A world-class data organization needs all of them, working together perfectly. The only thing that really matters is finding the place where your unique skills and your passions can really, truly shine. So, the final takeaway is simple. The architect, the engineer, and the scientist, they are different, but they are deeply complementary. Success in data isn't about finding one lone superstar, it's about building a superstar team. So the real question isn't which role is better, but where do you see yourself making the biggest impact? Find that fit, and you'll be ready to go out and build the future.